Oh, no.
Hey, guys.
Give me that back.
We finally made it.
Hi,
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, we are late. We had technical difficulties.
I was trying to be Jasmine. I was jumping through hoops for StreamYard. So, Jasmine, I took over your job. He doesn't care. He's back there sleeping. See how you are? Won't even open her eyes. Jazz?
She wouldn't.
Nope. She's
They all
not
look
doing it.
kind of snoozy.
Except for the one that's on my arm.
Yeah, of course, Cecil.
And as soon as I change the camera, then he's going to go somewhere else. That's the way he's got kind of a sixth sense about that, don't you? Mm-hmm. You know when the camera's on you? Mm-hmm.
So our first chatter arrived. Welcome, Jamie. And it looks like the names in the chat are restored, which is good.
Oh, hooray
so
for that. And hello,
I'm
Jem
bubbling
and
up
Jamie.
again. And welcome, Calvin Thurston.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, I'm trying to be Jasmine, doing hopes for StreamYard today. And with someone beating that toy against my right ear, what is with you? You little monster, you little monster. You have to be careful if you play with him like that too much because you will get bit. He won't mean to do it, but he gets a little intense about his toys, don't you? Mm-hmm. Why don't we find some new people you can tear up? We'll find some volunteers. What do you think? Would you like a volunteer?
Falconsu says, I was about to call Dawn, didn't get any notifications.
Yeah, but there was a little problem with StreamYard. I set everything up and it didn't take. So, yeah, sometimes it happens. Technical difficulties, right? Here's a technical difficulty. It's called Cecil.
He usually solves the problems. Cecil?
You're messing with you, Cecil. You're messing with the Cecil.
He's so smart and so cute.
He's a good bird, aren't you? We're going to talk about parrots and people, making it work. Sometimes it doesn't work so well when you bring in somebody else, especially if you're bonded. We'll mention that too. But if the bird becomes bonded to you, then you have to deal with all that territoriality and it's trying to protect you, and which most humans don't understand. They just, why is my bird biting me? Well, they're protecting you from the other person. If you bite feathers, it doesn't hurt. The problem is we don't have feathers. Right, Cecil? All right, I'll leave you alone. You're just playing with a toy. You're not hitting me anymore. There's no fun in hitting the Don if you can't disturb him from working on the phone. Right, Cecil? Yeah, so when it comes to other people, you're going to have to build trust with your parrot and the other person, one treat at a time. Or as we who practice ABA like to call it, one reinforcer at a time. Because it isn't always a treat. Cecil likes to be petted sometimes, and he doesn't want food. Same with Romeo. All the birds here will sometimes ignore the food issue and want to be petted or talked to or played with. Snowball starts the morning out like that. You offer him some kind of treat before you played a little bit with frisbee with him and taken him out. He won't eat it. He looks at you like you've done something wrong. Figure it out, human. So the working with your bird so that it's okay with other people is, it's a form of what we call socialization in ABA. And when you get a bird to do one thing, let's say you get a bird to do something like turn around on a perch, okay? And then you can cue it by saying turn around and they do it. Or you can make a hand motion going like this and they do it. Then you take them somewhere else in a different room and put them somewhere and they don't do it. That's because you have to generalize the behavior. So it's the same with socializing birds with people. You have to generalize the behavior. They're socialized with you, may even be bonded to you, but each individual has to be socialized the same way. And eventually you can get a bird that can deal with pretty much anybody. Bob's a good example of that. Take him somewhere. He's terribly friendly. Just don't put your fingers in his cage if you're in his environment. Or try to, in some way, touch me. That doesn't work too well. So every bird's an individual. So, success is measured in trust, not in time. So if it takes you 6 months to get your birds socialized to people, well, that's what it takes. You've got to build the trust. They've probably been in situations or interpreted situations in such a way where they don't want to be handled by anybody but maybe you, or maybe not you. Maybe they want the other person in the house. And I don't claim to understand a parent's mind, but I do understand behavior, and so that's what I focus on. For example, right now, what Cecil is doing, I understand that behavior. He essentially has two toys, even though that's one toy, because it has a ring and then it has actually three if you count the bead on it. So it gives him something that he likes to play with. He's in play mode right now. That'll eventually change, and he'll either go whacking around to whack people with the toy, or he'll start beating me with it, or he'll drop it and do something else. But so usually, 9 times out of 10, the reason a parrot won't allow some person that doesn't know to come up and approach them and touch them is out of fear. It is common for parrots to fear strangers. And then, we all move in certain ways, right? Everybody's got a certain way of moving around. And so the way these other people move, they have different voices. They have unpredictable motions that they make. They're doing things that you don't do. They're acting in ways that you don't act. So all of this is confusion for them. It can be a little frightening. Right, Cecil? Yeah, he's not one that's usually frightened by people. He is frightened by the big table we have where we make toys. And I haven't desensitized him to that because I don't usually take him over there except when we're going outside. Right, Cecil? So again, we're back to observing. Look at the situation and see what happens. Be aware of what happens before you see the behavior, okay? And then the consequence of that. Somebody walks into the room, and now you have a change of the environment. Now, what does the bird do? Does it step away? Look for those reactions. A bird that steps away or goes back to the back of its cage or goes to the end of the perch farthest away from the person coming in, well, they have an aversion to either that person or other people in general. So now you have to work with that reinforcing the good behavior, which is being good around other people, human beings. And at the same time, you also have to work on the human. Because if you have a human that eventually gets up to your parrot and the parrot tries to step over by putting their beak on that person's arm and that person pulls it away, well, that just ruined the work you've been doing. So you have to make it clear. And it depends on the person. You know, you can stand there with a baseball bat if it's somebody who doesn't listen and say, if you put your arm out and my bird leans over to get on your arm and puts its beak on you and you pull your arm away, this baseball bat's going to start moving. And it's not going to be going for my bird. I'm not serious. You shouldn't do that. But what I'm saying is make it perfectly clear that's an unacceptable behavior. If they do that, if they pull away, then you're going to ask them to leave immediately and they can come back some other time. With humans, it's probably better to do that, but you can also use a carrot. Now, on the other hand, if you do it, and you know they like chocolate ice cream, I have some chocolate ice cream in the refrigerator for you. So it's your choice. You can either leave or you can have the chocolate ice cream when the bird comes over. You know, sometimes the hardest thing is dealing with the people, to be honest, because they don't know how to react. And other times it is just the bird, you know, because you may have somebody who's been around birds who doesn't have a problem with them, but so it could go either way. You just have to use your own observation to see, is it the person causing the problem, or is it your parrot that has a fear, or is it both? Then you have to go into what we call desensitization and counter conditioning. So there are many techniques in ABA for that. But basically, desensitization is, let's say that you're afraid of spiders, okay? And somebody brings a spider into your house inside of a container where it can't get out, right? They show it to you and then they leave. The next time they come over, they show it to you a longer period of time. Then they leave. And at no time does that spider bother you inside the jar. Well, that's the beginning of desensitization. When you're not running to the back of the room screaming anymore, we know we've succeeded in some of that, right? Counter conditioning would be more like you've got something between you and the other person so they don't feel like the spider's going to get them, and you take the tarantula out and you let it walk around on your arm. All right? And while it's walking around on your arm, you tell that person you can go to that cabinet over there and your favorite candy bar is on the top. Take only one. Now you're conditioning on them. When there's a spider in the room, they can have a candy bar, their favorite candy bar. That's counter conditioning. Okay?
I think I just want to point out that for the spider example, there are some of us where you might have to start with looking at a small black and white picture from far away rather than a guy bringing a spider in a box.
Yeah, that's true. That's the small step situation. Well, you could see that if you jump the gun and you go too fast, you just go back to the book, right? Now, here's a picture of a spider. Um, this is a heptaphilidae, right? And it's harmless. This one can't hurt you. Showing a picture of it, right? You can even do the Vincent Price imitation. Here's the tiny heptaphilidae, unfortunately harmless. Um, Nix the La Cosa whose tiny fangs. So anyway, so yeah, you may have to start simple. You always want to take baby steps, unless you're working with the bird and the bird jumps like this is no problem. Then you may be able to take larger steps, but always plan for those little tiny steps. So when person you have somebody new you're introducing, start at a distance. This is what I do. Okay, and I'm comfortable with birds. I could go over there and get bit. It wouldn't, I don't like to be bit, but it's not going to send me off screaming. So, but I'll walk up, and if I notice the feathers on the back of the neck going up, you need to tell the people this, or you need to say, okay, stop, see what's happening with the feathers, take a step back. So you're telling the person what to do, right? Come up, the feathers go up on the back of the neck. The bird steps back away on the perch. You want to set the perch so the bird can do that, so it can move back and forth, and then have them step back. And they can talk gently to the bird. Hi, calling it by its name. Hi, Merlin. Hi, Merlin. Doing that kind of thing. When the bird takes a step back, they take a step back. When the bird raises the feathers on the back of the neck, they take a step back. And if you keep doing that, you might notice that you're doing the tango. Um, it's a teaching tango that you do so that you watch the bird's reaction and then you react to it. If they look like they're giving you a fear reaction, you back away. And eventually you build trust that way. And once you can approach the bird, then that's when you start using the treat. The treat that they only get when they're being trained. When you get to that point, you can offer that treat. Have the person offer that treat. And it's also important to remember you don't want to overwhelm the bird. So if the bird is obviously nervous and you're doing the step forward, step back thing, and it stays nervous, then have the person sit in a chair across the room and you can pull up a chair and talk to them there or whatever. Until you see the bird calms down, and then you can start the same process again. Oh wow, there's water coming from the sky. We haven't seen that this year. Well, I think we saw a few drops earlier this year. Actually, some rain coming out there. Drizzle. Cecil, you see it? You see the rain? Probably. Better than me. So I hope all that makes sense. Now, you can also, one thing you can do since you're there, is you can, when the person takes a step forward, you can hand a little treat. So you can start the reinforcer thing there too. So as the person steps forward, you hand a treat. They step forward, you hand a treat. The feathers on the back of the neck go up, or the bird moves away. You have the person step back. And, after you've done this for a while, you can go down and become a dance instructor, because it really is kind of a dance that you got to do. Remember that you have to do things gradually, though, and there's no rushing this kind of thing. If they're afraid of people, you want to start too with someone is not going to cause a problem. If you know someone who is not afraid of birds or is a bird person, that's the best way to start. You don't want to start with the person in the neighborhood who normally, there you go, you broke it, didn't you? Yeah. You happy now? You broke your toy? You happy?
So while Cecil is interrupting, I can greet Rosebud Atkins. Welcome, Rosebud. And
Hi,
then we have
Rosebud.
a question from Jem and Jamie. She says, so it is better to start with introducing one person to the parrot.
Yeah. Yeah, one person at a time. Trying to change cameras there. One person at a time. You don't want to flood a bird with too much at one time. So
And
yeah.
if there's a person available who is not scared of parrots, maybe owns parrots themselves, so that's always a plus, as Don just explained, right, KK? Are bird people a little different?
That's one way of saying it. Uh,
And the thing is, birds spot bird people immediately. Don't know how they do it, but
I think,
probably in our body language and everything tells them we are
yeah,
not afraid.
yeah. That's it. The body language. They can, well, not just body language. They can see the capillary response on your skin.
Mm,
If you're afraid, um, it's going to show up on your skin, so they can see it.
mhm. And that makes them a little bit dubious about you since um, these are prey animals, and when you're somehow, yeah, just excited, even if it's afraid, then the bird thinks like, oh, that's not a good situation. So because I think hunters, when they hunt, they are also not relaxed. So might be something related to that. Chairman says, I know one or two, but they live far away. Yeah, of course, it's not absolutely necessary to start with a bird person. Anybody who is willing to volunteer in that special situation is fine.
That's right. Any victim, I mean, any volunteer you can find, preferably someone who's not afraid of beaks, but because when you finally get to the point where the bird's going to come over, even if you've told them, they don't have arms, they've got legs. So in order for them to come over, they've got to use their beak. People can hear it, but that doesn't mean they're going to internalize it. So I've seen it happen. I had it happen with somebody at the Renaissance Fair with Chloe, and he pulled his arm away, and I must say I I became a sailor because I had explained it so much. I was using sailor's language, and I just told him to go away. I said, "Get out of here." I told you not to pull your arm away. Well, I said, no, just go. Bye. Now I would approach it differently. I would just say, well, fortunately, this bird isn't going to be traumatized by what you did, but when someone explains to you the situation and you don't follow it, then you really shouldn't be trying to handle a bird. So, what are you doing up there? Yeah, I'm surprised somebody didn't put me on a ship after that because I really let go on that guy. But you know, now I
Mhm.
understand the psychology more. People will pretend that they're all big and tough, but when the rubber hits the road, they're not, right?
You
So
want us to say a lot of people act like Babalu.
yeah, yeah. There was one guy that wanted to hold Peaches, and she'd been out on the lawn, and they had been running her around and playing with her. I said, she's really tired. She's liable to bite. I said, you can't drop her. And so she hauled off after a while and just bit the heck into the palm of his hand, the edge of his hand. He didn't put her down. I mean, he was tough in that regard. And then I got her out of his hands, and he went and got bandaged up. But he was tougher than he looked. A lot of people, when get bit, will pull their hands away, but people will do it just seeing that beak come over. It's one thing to say that well, a good example is when I was in the Navy. See, I can't swim, so um, they I think the first week they had us dive off a 30-meter board, right, and that's pretty darn high up. And I was feeling all confident, and as soon as I hit the water, my legs and my arms went every which way, and they stuck the pole in there to pull me out. Then they let go of the pole, and when I came out, I was ready to start swinging. I mean, I was threatening the guy, and and they threatened me back, and then after that, they figured out I couldn't swim.
Hmm.
So I did the same thing. I acted like, this is no problem. But as soon as I hit that water, I was all over. So people can be like that. So you just have to tell them, you have to be slow with the people too. You have to be gentle and say, this is what they're going to do. And then if you can, if you've got another person there, show how they can walk over using their beak. With Bob, what I do now is I put my finger down and I have him grab a hold of my finger and I pull him up. And if people see that, that helps them lose the fear, right? So if you can somehow make it so the person sees that if they use that like a pair of hands, hook bills are amazing, what they use that bill for. So, and the last thing they use it for is fighting. It's not their normal behavior. So, Vicky, what are you doing over there?
Okay, let's greet some new chatters. We have Jocelyn Drill here. Welcome, Jocelyn. And then Lisa Banerjee just dropped in. So welcome. And her question was, who's the window bird?
That's Cecil. Cecil saw the rain and he wanted to go over there. Now he's like, it's gone. Yeah, that's the way it works here. You're
Yeah.
lucky to get a drizzle for a minute and then it goes away. So he's hoping, looks like he's hoping more will come down. So when you come into that situation, you'll always want to announce your presence, say, hi, I'm Joe. Hi, I'm Don, and move slowly. Don't make any quick motions that might scare the bird. And then you want to come up and offer something. If the bird's reacting fine, it does, feathers on the back of the neck aren't going up. It's not walking away, which is why you want the perch. You want the perch facing this way, not this way. Because if you're approaching the bird this way, all they can do is move back and forth. But this way, they can move away from you. And when they move away, that lets you know that you need to back up. And just keep talking to them. You can bait them. We call it baiting. You can hold their favorite treat. And you hold the favorite treat, and you say, hi, I'm Don. Yeah, I got a treat for you, that kind of thing. And keep a neutral posture. Don't walk in. Like some people like this. Years ago. You can't tell it by looking at me. I used to be a bodybuilder, so there's a certain way your body looks. You can tone that down though, because when you've got a lot of muscle, and if you want to wear a loose shirt when you go in if you're built like that. Baggy pants, that kind of thing, so you don't look like a threat. And if you've got a face like Quasimodo, put a bag over your head. No, I'm just kidding. um, they do react to our facial structure. So if you're, it, there's something else. As far as faces go, don't smile. Because when a tiger or a lion goes to eat you, what's the first thing they do? It looks like a smile, right? So we're predators, an open mouth
Especially,
with
don't smile with teeth.
yeah,
Smile with
with
your eyes.
yeah. Don't smile at all. Just keep your face blank, and they're okay with that. Later on you can animate your face, but try to be as at least animated you can. When I approached him, he was our last bird coming in. Him, that's you. That's a KK bird. Um, I would. I kept a bland face. It's easy with my face, though. It doesn't show emotion well. So then I handed him a French fry as he was coming out, unsalted French fry. Coming out of the travel cage, he came from Alaska, so Alaska in a cargo compartment. But so what he saw was somebody who was offering him something. Most birds like a French fry, offering him something he liked, and at the same time not showing any kind of threat. Because I opened the door, I handed him the French fry, and I took a step back. And I was just talking to him sweetly. Hi, KK. Hi, baby. How you doing? See how he reacts to that? That's the way he reacted when I said, "Oh, KK, good bird, good boy. Yeah, KK, good bird." Yeah. So those are the keys. You have to build up a positive reaction, and sometimes you can do it quickly. Sometimes it takes longer. And it's best to do this with just one individual. Don't try to train your bird to get along with like five different people. You're pushing your luck there. You want to start with one and then generalize. It's like teaching a bird to turn around on a perch. You They'll do that there, but if you put them on another perch, they won't know why you're trying to tell them that. You have to generalize the behavior. So you train them with one person and then another, and hope that you don't get somebody in the loop who's going to start to break the training. But you just go back if that happens. If your bird's trying to step over and the person pulls their arm away, and then your bird gets scared, well, you have to start over again. Best with the person you first worked with, where the relationship was established. That's what you want to do. So sometimes that little lapse by one individual isn't going to hurt anything, especially if you come over and you give the bird a treat and pet it and say, "Oh, good bird," you'll probably be okay. But the big variable here is people, because no matter what they say they can do, it doesn't mean they can do it. If you remember in oh, I'm gonna forget. One of my favorite movies now, and I can't think of the name of it. Vivian Leigh, set in the South. Come on. My brain.
You've, I don't know, you
Huh?
talk all the time about Fight Club, but you don't mean that.
No, no. I'm talking about an old movie that was made, and set in about the Civil War.
Gone
Brett
with the
Butler.
Wind.
Yeah, there you go. Where the girl is saying, "Oh, I can, I know all about birthing babies." And then when the time happens, "Oh, I don't know anything about birthing babies." So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, yeah. She was a great actress. She was great, but um, that's what you get. So, someone may say, "Oh, yeah." Now, the people who are more tentative, who are scared, they're scared up front. It's easier to deal with them because they're going to, they're going to tell you truthfully they don't think they can handle it. I just had one of those, and he ended up holding Lucy, and that was fine. I had to make sure he didn't let Lucy get under his chin though, because she has a tendency to nip your chin, and that would have horrified him. But she's quiet when you hold her down, so I made sure he kept her down there. She'll tend to try to lean into you, and once she gets up towards your face, then she won't hurt you. But with him, it might have been too much. So, um, knowing your bird is another thing too. How does your bird react in general to certain types of behavior? And then just make sure those people don't present those behaviors. And again, when you're treating the bird in these situations, giving them stop that, giving them a reinforcer. You stop. You stop that. Come here. Come here. Come on up. Come on up. Didn't see much rain, did you? Yeah, well, you want to see rain, go to Washington State.
Or to the rainforest.
Yeah. Off to the jungle.
Mm. So I think I haven't greeted Spirit Matter, so I want to do it now. So welcome, Spirit Matter. And then I want to give the trophy for guessing the movie to Rosebud Atkins. She guessed it right.
Congratulations. I don't know what you win, but well done.
Yeah. I think
We'll
Kiki
think.
can probably say something nice.
KK, can you say something nice? Yeah. No one can hear that. You're so quiet.
Mumble, mumble, mumble.
He does the mumble. You do the mumble, don't you? Yeah, just take things slow. That's the key thing. Um, Try to know the people as well as you know your bird, and just watch for those signals from the bird when they're telling you they don't want to do something. They don't want to see this person. Have the person step back. Just think of it as a tango. It's like in the movie Real Genius where Val Kilmer comes up to the brainy kid and he tells him, here, just take a step back. Now take a step forward. Now take a step back. Now we're doing the tango. If you can remember that scene, you should be able to work it out. What are you guys doing? Don't walk on him. No, don't walk on him. He is not a walking board. No, he's not a boardwalk. He's not a boardwalk. Cecil, don't be silly.
So the Dream Team duo is again back in town. Falcons would like to know if you introduced the wet to the hooligans one at a time.
Yep. I brought them into the.
Stand on the poor KK.
Oh, get off of him. Stop that.
Standing on his neck is not nice.
No, and he doesn't like it, and he will eventually start. You're starting a fight, so don't do that.
Yep.
He's
Yeah,
your
one
friend.
at a
Don't
time.
try to fight with him.
I took them into the examination room, and they did it, and they got to see him one at a time. And I said this before, but when they were done, they said we thought this was going to be the worst, the worst home visitation for the whole day, and it turned out being the best. Because they're all trained to deal with veterinary behavior. The only thing I didn't train them on was the stethoscope, which is kind of silly because I don't use it that often. I mean, I use a stethoscope maybe once every 6 months or something. Now every time they go in to get their nails done, I use a stethoscope. So, but everything else, that was the only thing they were afraid of. Everything else they just went right through. Right, Cecil? And they deal with birds, but they're not dealing. They knew they were coming over to deal with 12 birds, so they just didn't expect them to be all ready to be dealt with. Now the thing too is it was the examination room I use. Okay, so they're used to that perch. They're used to being prodded, poked, and everything on that perch. So when it happened, it was like, oh, this is what usually happens here. Again, we tried to do that in the living room, it would not have gone as well. It would have gone okay, but not as well. They're not generalized to do these behaviors in every place, but the examination room we have set up looks a lot like a veterinary office. So again, when they go into a vet's office, they're not as frightened as they might be otherwise. Again, you want to try to get them socialized a certain way. So. So if you do this with one person, you want to repeat. It's rinse, repeat, and do it. Wash again. You want to do it again. So the next person comes in, have them come in about the same way, approach the bird the same, roughly the same way, saying roughly the same kind of vocal. Words don't matter so much as the tone. Saying the bird's name in a pleasant way. Cecil, bird. Hi, Cecil. Hey, Cecil. So, kind of like you would talk to a 2-year-old or 3-year-old. They are not like that. They're much smarter than a 2-year-old or 3-year-old human being, but they do respond to that type of voice. So, see, Cecil's turning his head because I know that he wants to be petted. So I have that voice when I especially talk to a new bird when I've not met before, or if I'm talking to a bird that has got a problem. If I have to pull a blood feather or something, it's like I talk to them politely until I'm actually pulling the feather and don't say anything because you don't want to associate your pleasant voice with pain. If you have like invite somebody over to slap you across the face and say your name, and after a while you won't want to hear your name. It's the way it works. So works just the same for us as it does for them. Right, Cecil? These two are still sitting in the same spot. You got to try. And the reason I say you want it to have each person do the same thing is you want them to be predictable. And then over time, you can break it out. Again, we call that generalization. You can break that out so that people don't have to always do the same kind of behavior. And they don't have to meet a person in the same place. But don't expect that to happen right away. And that's a different training situation when you're putting them in a different spot and then introducing them to someone new. You're now generalizing a behavior, so you're going to get other kinds of behavior that you have to deal with. They may react less friendly to someone in that situation, and you just have to go slow. And you can do that by rotating the first person you trained into the room. Now we're doing it a different way, and then eventually they get along with people in most situations.
We have another question from Jem and Jamie. It's how do you socialize the bird with the vet?
Well, the way you start doing that is training veterinary behaviors so that I'm sorry, I didn't realize you weren't paying attention. I caught him unaware. I don't mean to catch you unaware. Oh, you're such a good bird. I didn't mean to scare you. So that when you touch under the wing, you open the wing. This is target training. You think you need a target, but that's not how it works. Target training, if you want to know what that is, take Animal Training 101 or buy the book and then go beat your head against the wall. Because if you don't have a PhD or you don't like to study intensely detailed, then the book Animal Training 101 isn't for you. But if you're taking her class, it is because she makes it easy and you can read the book and go, oh, I see. But I gotta move. I just lost one of these earbuds. I can't hear myself, so I have to leave one hanging kind of out of my ear, and it falls out sometimes. Hi, KK. So you do that by training all the behaviors. Lifting the wings, opening the beak so you can see inside the beak. You train that behavior. You train the behavior where you can flip them upside down and so they can be examined, their cloaca can be examined. You train them by doing the basic exam on them at least once a week. You should do a basic exam, make sure there's no organs growing funny, you don't have a female that's starting to egg lay, that kind of thing. So yeah, you teach them so that you want to look at their eyes, they let you look at their eyes. These are behaviors. Normally, if you reach over to a bird and do that, it's probably not going to react positively to it. But they're all used to me handling that way. So when the vet comes up and starts looking at they're used to it. They've been through that. So basically, you're just running them through the same routine they're going to run through when they see a vet. And then, you teach them those behaviors one after the other until he hasn't been here that long, but he opens his wing. So when the vet wanted to handle him, it was no problem. He was used to it. Checked out his eyes, checked his beak out, the whole thing. That's how you do it. And actually, Barbara Heidenreich has a good video on that. I think that CD is still available on training your bird for a veterinary exam. But in lieu of that, when you take your bird to the vet, just take note of everything the vet does and then train that behavior next time. Your vet will appreciate it, and so will your bird. I'd go into Dr. Young's office and I'd be bringing in, he's like, I'm going to have to, and I just look at him and he goes, oh, that's okay. Whatever I want to do to the bird, let me do. Okay. Mander has a problem with being flipped over, and that's because of his twisted pelvis. So he has some issues where if you move him around, it hurts. So he'll react by biting. Um, once you explain that to the vet, I know that Dr. Jenkins, I told him that and it went in one ear and out the other. So next thing you know, he got bit and he's like, oh, that's the first one of the day. And I just laughed. I said, I told you, and he's the one that did the x-rays. I told you he doesn't like to be turned over on his back. And he doesn't because it hurts. It's not,
Mm.
it's not, it's not that he's afraid of being turned over on his back. It's just that it hurts. So that's how you do it. And as I say, Barbara Heidenreich did have a good video on that. I saw that a long time ago. Before I think I saw it before I took my second class in ABA. So
Jamie says, oh boy, getting her on her back is gonna be tricky. I can hold her on her back for a little, but she doesn't like being set down on her back.
yeah, it's like everything else. You have to work slowly to that. So to get them on their back and then say good bird or whatever you use consistently, don't keep changing it around. Say good bird. It's better than the clicker. Okay, that's think of it as the replacement for a clicker. You say good bird, get them, flip them back over, hand them a treat. And after a while, they'll want to be on their back because they're getting their favorite treat. It's like with a kid. Go sit in that chair. I don't want to sit in the chair. Here's a candy bar. That's kind of how it works. So you're just rewarding the behavior you want. So take it step by step. And if you can get the bird over in that position for 1 second and they're okay, flip them back up. Say good bird right then when they're in that position, flip them over and give them the treat. Now, if you get it where you're holding them longer, you're going to want to say under your breath, good bird, good bird, good bird. That is called an intermediate bridge. That lets them know that there's going to be a reward, but we're not there yet. So good bird, good bird. And then you finish it up by going, good bird, flip them over. They're all looking at me. They're all looking at me because I did that.
Yeah, probably. And Sugar's looking at you because you're not a good human to her. Sometimes.
No, yeah, tell us
She
we're
says,
good,
like,
but
you haven't patted my beak within 5 minutes. How dare you?
Yeah, I know.
gotta tell them what great birds they are just for existing.
Mm.
Yeah, they're not used to hearing that particular thing unless they're going to get a reward. So
that's why they all look like, who is he talking to? Who is he training?
Yep, exactly. So that's one you won't normally hear. The intermediate bridge is terribly important if you're going to hold a position for a while. When I'm doing nails, I use I do the same thing. I say good bird, good bird. While I'm doing a nail, good bird, good bird. And like with Bob, I do that, and then at the very end, it's good bird, and I hand him a stick with peanut butter on it. If you don't hand him a stick with peanut butter on it, the next time you go to do his nails, you're going to be putting a bandage on your fingers because he has a contract that he doesn't get his nails done unless he gets peanut butter. So, but that's Bob. Each bird's a little different, and Bob is a little different. He's a good boy, but he's a little different. So I hope that explanation, it makes it a little more clear about how you deal with it. You just want to have them get used to one individual. Slowly doing the tango. Talk about the tango, right? You do the tango. You provide the reinforcer once you get close enough, and you do that with one person till that bird is comfortable, and then you can start. Then you can do the step up thing. You can work your way around to where that person is working with the bird, no problem, and then do the same thing with another person, and then another person, and then start moving it around from one perch to another, generalizing it. And then you should be fine. You'll run into problems. That's why they teach us functional analysis, because when you run into a problem you haven't seen before, you have to analyze why the bird is doing it. What's the consequence they're looking for? Once you've figured out the consequence, then you can start looking at how you're going to change, the antecedents, the things that led up to that behavior. But that's another video. Functional analysis takes a little while, and it is a science. So anybody can do it. It's just you have to develop the observational technique to ascertain why a certain behavior, what consequence they're looking for, and how you can change the environment so that they get something that they want that fulfills that need. You can't take away the need. If you're hungry, the only way I can take away that need is give you food. Well, the other way is they have to throw a wreath on the ground. But as far as getting rid of the hunger, it's a natural need. So that's a primary reinforcer. Food's a primary reinforcer because warmth, food, that kind of thing is something you need. So
Shuggy is so sweet, taking a nap right in front of us.
that won't last long. As soon as I put the phone down, she'll be whining at me. She's
Yeah, they
watching
all
me.
sit there like little statues. Only basically Cecil was walking around, showing that we don't just show stuffed birds.
Well, I could create a
Some of
little
you may have
action.
noticed Pippa is not in the room, so that's why it's all peaceful.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly, we're on the same wavelength. I was going to say I could create a little problem by bringing Pepe in here.
Yeah, that live stream was sadly Triton-free.
The problem is, I don't know why, but she goes after Jasmine right now, and they must have had a bit of an altercation. I didn't catch the whole thing. Maybe I caught the tail end of it, but she's been acting like that for about a week now. And she just goes right after Jasmine, and Jasmine's just sitting there most of the time. But Jasmine's she's not completely innocent. She does taunt Pippa sometimes, so she taunts me. that's Jasmine. But she's a good girl, but she's got her personality quirks, that's for sure. Don't to Jazz. Yeah, just gonna say. Well, at least you two are up, and you two are up, aren't you?
Such sweet birds.
Well, thank you, Amy and Eleanor, for being here. And
let's say thanks to Tim and Jamie, who just donated $17 and says, thanks from Luna. Okay, thanks. Thank you for supporting us.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm trying to get to the screen and I got a message. Will you quit telling me it's going to rain? I don't believe it. Let's see, I better turn it this way. I can see the controls better. Here we are. Thank you.
Hi. 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 Hi.
Science knowledge only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe of a flower.
Evidence is evidence. It's public. Everybody can look at the evidence and assess it, and eventually, if there's enough evidence, come to the same conclusion.
The Chloe Sanctuary for Parrots and Cockatoos, a nonprofit charity dedicated to the empowerment of captive parrots and public awareness.